Okay, so this is me going to tinyurl.com/AU software, which lands me to this actual link. All right, this there we go, and we go to the virtual lab. And my expectation is you have a copy of your data available to you either on the desktop or in your OneDrive or something like that. Hopefully this won't take too long. Maybe I should pause it. Alrighty. All right, cool. So I'm putting, like, this is my data that I had from the last video, and this right here is something that I'll show you in just a second as we get underway. I'm going to go ahead and sign into my OneDrive. You can watch me do that. If it doesn't naturally ask you to sign in, you can trigger that. And usually a nice little helpful assistant will come by and try to help you sign in. Now, if you're not able to sign in, like I said before, you can probably get away with keeping your data on the desktop. That probably will work. But anyway, don't let that be your only copy of anything, okay? Because it could just vanish at some point. All right. So I'm going to go in here, and like we were able to type SPSS, remember in the last video we typed SPSS, this time we're typing Stata, and we're going to go ahead and open Stata. Again, if you haven't done this already, you might want to unhide file extensions, and the way you would figure that out is you would go over to View on any of these. Yeah, you want to open up the View menu, make sure you are showing hidden files, and do not hide file extensions for known types. I like display full path and so forth. I like these settings. Okay, so these settings will allow you to do anything that we're going to be doing here in this video for sure. All right. Okay, now we're going to create a do file from inside Stata. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say window do file editor, new do file editor. Okay, and the star symbol is a comment. You can put your heading here. Okay, and then when you want to save this, well, first what I'm asking people to do is put clear. If you don't start with the clear command, there's a good chance that the computer will tell you, that the software will say, hey, I'm not going to execute your file because I've already got data in storage and I don't want to lose it. But if you specifically say clear, it will then let you reread your data from scratch. Okay, so save that on the desktop. This one is untitled just because this is a demo, so I can show you. There's a couple things in the homework lesson I just want you to be aware of. So over here is where you would type a command like display 9 times 4 plus 3 or whatever you want a quick calculation. DI means display. But other than that, we're going to do a lot like we did with SPSS, except that when we use these menu systems, they're going to generate commands down here in the command window. And then we can adjust those commands. So what we're getting is we're going to start removing some of the scaffolding from what you're doing. So we started with StatCrunch where there was no visible code. Then we went to SPSS where we could see the code, but we did not execute it. Now granted, there is a way of executing that journal file or pieces of that journal file, but we haven't talked about it in this class because I just don't, first of all, don't really like the way the code looks, but you can read it back in and execute it. But we're going to be very quickly moving on to Stata, where the code is easier to produce and read and execute. So that's why I felt like it wasn't a necessary part of what we were doing with SPSS. Some people who use SPSS do rely on those code files so that they can recreate their work and reproduce their results again. But we're going to get a lot of that experience in Stata and R and Python. So as we move through the different languages, we are getting closer and closer to the code base and further away from what we call WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get, or the drop-down menus. We're getting further away from that kind of interface and more into typing out your own code. Okay, so this Stata is the bridge where we're going to be doing a lot of these drop-down menus and exploring help online through official help manuals. And then we're going to be typing commands in, and we're going to try to bring these two worlds together as this is a sort of the transitional language for us. Okay. All right, so if you want to read in your data file, let's start this. You're going to file import, and we're going to file import a CSV file, and it should let you open it. So you're going to search. I have mine on my desktop, but it's wherever you want, wherever you happen to have it. You search for it and you just open. So at this point, you should double check, because let's say something in here may not be the default. The default might not be the right, where did that go? The default might not be the correct type, so if you need to change anything, this is where you change it. If there's something that's being rendered as a numeric but you want it to be a string, this is where you would change it. Okay. And so the actual command that does this for you shows up here. So you copy. Make sure you don't copy this dot. This is just like a period. Don't copy that, because it will jam up your code. This little echo, this part of this dot just says, this is what you just did, user. And then what comes below is my response to that. My response being, I'm Stata. Okay, so now this is the right way for me to import this, but you know what, honestly, because I'm going to be launching this from the desktop, I can also just do it this way. Both of those commands will work. So I'm going to go ahead and use the simplified version of that. And then I'm going to make sure that works. I'm going to close this down and make sure that works. And this is the file I just created. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to just say execute all. So this just executes everything, and I want to make sure it read this in properly, and I can say data editor. Let's look at it. If I don't really want to edit it, but I want to just do a protected browse, I just go through browse and I can see what I have. So I successfully read in my data file. That's not the one I actually want to work on, though. I'm going to actually open a different one, but now that you know how to get the thing started, this is the one I spent a lot of time working on. It actually has all my answers in it, so I'm not going to show it to you, but I'll show you little bits of it. Okay, so what I want you to see here is when I grade your homework, I'm going to have your data file and your code file in the same place. Like it could be on the desktop, or it could be in a folder with your name on it, whatever. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button, and I'm going to see that all the different pieces come up. So I'm going to see that your ANOVA comes up, and that your chi-square comes up, and all the different pieces here, your confidence intervals, your summary statistics. But it should also bring up all these different graphics, and if I can look fast enough, I can see that they're coming up. And sometimes I have to run it a couple times because they flash by my eyes too quickly, and in that case I can just look at a particular line and just say, okay, well, This is the one I wanted to see. This one right here, I can highlight it, and you can do that too. And then just that piece shows up, right? So I can look at the graphics one at a time, but I usually just run the whole thing, and then if there's something that flashed by too quickly, then I will look at that one specifically, okay? So this is how your homework is being graded, and I'm just going to give you a couple tips. Okay, so you're going to start off, again, I want to kind of hide most of this, but you're going to start off and you're going to probably recode a variable. And there we go. So one of the ways we can recode variables is by generating new variables. And in the instructions, I show you how to do that under recode variables. And in that case, I'm showing you how to turn binary, 0 and 1 binary variables into string variables, okay? But what I'm showing you here is a simplified version of this same command. If I say gen x, it means generate variable x and make it have the same contents as read. So I'm making a copy of the read column, which is numerical for me, and I'm putting it in a new column that looks like x. And I'm making a new column of math and calling it y. I'm making a new column of grades and calling it group. For farms, you know from the last video, I split it into low and high. It has to do with whether or not the lunch is 80 or above. Okay, so you have, I want to show you this. So when I created this new column, it's just so that my code will be simpler. I put two numerical variables down and called them x and y. And my grouping variable, I called it group. And my other grouping variable is called farms. But I just didn't want to call it group 2 or something, so I just called it farms. Okay, so that's what my data looked like. What else did I want to tell you? Let me pause this for a second. So basically what I wanted to do with this demo is just give you examples of everything or most everything, and I want to encourage you not to look too carefully at this video the first time. I want you to just look through briefly, and then I want you to focus mostly on the written instructions. Okay, so I want you to put most of your effort on the written instructions, and I want you to actually struggle a little bit with it. Okay, and then what I want you to do is circle back to the video if you get so stuck that you can't handle it, and I'm just going to show you my answers so you can see what they look like. Okay, so you can go ahead and see what my code looks like. Okay, but I want you to try to do it yourself. I want you to think about it. I want you to struggle a little bit, and I want you to see if you can make the software do what you want. Okay, and so when I go to grade your software, I'm just going to, grade your homework, I'm just going to look through and make sure you're able to do all these things. And again, I want you to have experience looking in the advice manuals. So if I want to know like QQ plot, Stata, I want to look for this where it says manuals 13. That's how I know that I'm in a good place, because the stata.com manuals 13, that's where you're going to go for your authoritative documents. Okay, and it's going to have like your syntax is all written out properly in the proper format, as opposed to going to some kind of chat group or looking for some kind of video on YouTube. I want you to really focus on using the appropriate documentation for these languages. Okay, so that's all, and I want you to also reach out to me if you get stuck. And yep, that's it. Have fun.